with you. Hey everyone, welcome to the third Power Up of the Global Service Jam 2019. It's the final day. Some people are done, some people are still jamming. I need to mute this one. There we go. And today we're going to sort of see what happened at the jam, what happened at the deep jam. People are still alive, if they enjoyed themselves. And we have two people in right now. One is Adam, and we'll get back to Adam in a second. But first of all, let's start with the team from Munich. Hi, Team Munich.
Hamburg.
Hamburg. Well, it's good that it's only one chapter today. How do you feel after jamming for 3 days?
Very good. Exhausted, but yeah, I think spirits are high. Had a lot of fun, and
we had a lot of great feedback from the participants. They also enjoyed themselves, so that was a pretty good feedback since it was our first time organizing. So yeah.
And it was very satisfying also to kind of take almost 26 people through this design thinking process, like from nothing to 4 prototypes, and they're all 4 meaningful. That kind of really wants to save the world in 48 hours.
Okay, so take us through what happened since Friday. Let's give me a really short wrap up. You started on Friday, people were coming in, and then describe to me and the other people who are watching what happened.
Yeah, so Friday, as people entered, we had some kind of a people bingo game for them, so they could kind of get to know each other. We had some funny questions, so that was kind of the energizer. Then we kicked off with some basics of design thinking and service design, and yeah, there was like a lot of input for like at least half an hour, and then we went into the secret theme. People were quite shocked. They were like, okay, what do we do with blue, which is written in black with a yellow background? And there was like a lot of confusion in the room, and we just asked them to like make sense of it. I think Friday was the most confusing one, because then waiting on, okay, how do you think about how do you visualize discussions, basically? So then we gave them like a Lego input, so typical Lego Serious Play input, so they could talk to each other, and also kind of as in like a tool that they could use for the next 2 days for prototyping. And at the end of the Friday, I think people knew which team they wanted to be in, but it was still in the air. It wasn't still very clear for them to know what would they start with on Saturday morning. And on Saturday,
well, on Saturday was the main chunk of all of the research that they did. So they started off with going out into the streets to do some user research,
which was awesome because we had a rare sunny day.
Yeah, so it was really fun for the participants as well to actually go out and talk to random strangers, asking them questions, which were sometimes even quite personal. Like there was one group in our jam who were talking about personal development, and they wanted to know what kind of relationship they had with personal development itself as a topic. Do they reach out to people to talk about issues they have? And that was pretty, I don't know, some people found it taboo to talk about it when they went out on the streets, but they kind of figured out their way around. And yeah, after that, they came out and did some prototypes, which were really interesting to watch. And once again, they went out again to do some tests with their prototypes. So they kind of got onto the whole methodologies and way of doing pretty quickly. And that was really interesting to watch as well, like to see them progressing through from research to prototyping to testing phases within just 1 day. You could see that they were pretty constrained by the time limit, but at the same time, they were pretty quick to move on and saying that, yeah, okay, we realize that we can't really go into depth about this topic at the moment, but then we need to go to the next step right now. So that was pretty interesting to watch. Yeah, and also on Saturday, at the end of the day, we kind of realized that everyone went really quickly into tangible prototype and like mostly digital application.
And that's why on Sunday morning, like today morning, we try to like give more case studies about service design and try to like walk them through like a whole journey for a customer, not thinking only about like a physical products, but like more about touch points. And that's what they were working on today, to try to make the full experience and not only focus on the product and like the apps idea they add and like they tested on the street yesterday. And yeah.
But I think on Sunday, like today also, they kind of, with the input this morning, they did try to bring in some kind of human interaction to it. But I think it was already a bit late to kind of, because it starts from a digital interaction and then goes to service and not the other way around. So not like, yeah.
I think that was something on everybody's mind, like what is the difference between product design and service design? So many of them were also talking about that while they were talking individually to us. They're like, what is this? What is the difference? That's one thing they missed, I think. So maybe for next time, we should keep that in mind.
Yeah.
What was the biggest surprise for you? What surprised you the most?
It was interesting in parts where there were some people who were so uncomfortable going into the entire weekend, but they were still willing to put themselves in those uncomfortable situations. Like many of them on day one, when they came here, they're like, I'm so uncomfortable being here. And then to actually see them progress through the weekend, to actually interact with everybody, go out and experience everything for themselves and come out with some really good insights. For example, there was this one group where they were working on alcoholism as a problem. And at the end of Saturday, they had all their insights and they made a prototype. They went out to test it. And they realized that they had made a drinking game. They wanted to reduce the amount of alcohol people drink. Instead, they made a drinking game. And then they came back and they were super happy with their insights. They were like, oh my God, we are really pleased that we got this feedback so quickly. We were able to fail fast and move on from the stage and probably improve upon our ideas. So it was really nice to see people taking failure as a really natural step within the whole process.
Yeah,
that was great to watch.
And what made you as a team decide to join and participate and host the Jam this year? What was your motivation to do this?
It was my idea. So being trained under Mike Press and Hazel White was the initial inspiration, and also being part of Dundee Jam once. And yeah, I just asked people and they were like, yeah, we'll just jump in as well. And yeah.
For the rest of the team, yeah.
Yeah, service design has just been a topic for the last couple of months. I've been super intrigued by it because I'm a product designer. And for me, the whole big picture idea of what exactly are the services that are making this product happen possible has been a question that's been nagging me at the back of my head for quite some time. And when Hanshuman told me about this event, I was like, yeah, cool. I want to know what it's about and probably, you know, learn more in the process of organizing this event. So that was really nice.
For me, it was really cool that it's like a global, worldwide thing. So everyone's jamming at the same time. I think that really fosters this really special sense of connection that you might not get if you're just hosting like a localized sort of singular event. And just to have like the Twitter wall to look at, you know, when things are going slow, just to see like everyone is kind of going through the same thing and they're also having fun, and having a twin jam is also super nice because.
What was your twin jam? How did that go? Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we were twinning with Lyon in France, and yeah, it was pretty nice because like we could talk a few times during the jam session and like understand at what stage they were, and like sometimes they were behind, sometimes we were ahead of them, and yeah, we kind of shared some insight of like how the teams were doing, what were the different teams that were working on, and yeah, it was cool to see that every participant had like really different ideas, like from one country to another, and like different methodology and different like way of approaching the problems. So yeah, it was really great.
Yeah.
And for me, joining the Global Service Jam was also an opportunity to like be organizing for once, because I've been like going to some hackathon before, and I really like taking part. I did a graphic design master, but now I'm a product designer, and I really wanted to like be able to facilitate a workshop and like be in the other side. So yeah, it was great.
What's the what was the secret magic weapon of the dog? How did the dog help you to get through this jam? The mascot.
Pixel, what do you think about that? I don't know. No, it was really great to have the dog here. I think a dog always raises the mood, and I don't know, we didn't really have any really tense situations, but just having a dog here, everyone's like, oh, everyone's petting her, trying to feed her, taking her on their lap, and I don't know, it's just another thing that brings people together and is a little morale booster.
But I think you sort of misread the rules of the jam.
What is that?
It shouldn't be a dog, it should be a chicken, of course. All right. Let's go to Adam for a second, and stick around if you like. Let's see who else joins in. Adam.
Hi there.
Connecting. There we are.
Hello.
How are the last hours of the jam progressing for you?
Pretty well. We have, I think, 5 more hours to go around that. So we are in the middle of what we call the Brazil bump right now. Where
that sounds good. The Brazil bump. Yeah,
we have a Brazil gap and a Brazil bump, because when the European jams are doing something, it's very, very crazy. You know, we get the sort of Finland, Turkey time zone, then we get the Central Europe time zone, then we get the Atlantic time zone, then it goes quiet for a few hours. And then Brazil goes, wah! Like this, before the rest of the Americas come in as well. So it sort of picks up pretty fast. So some of the Brazilian jams have uploaded. Some are still doing that right now, and their neighbors in other South American countries are coming towards uptime. So basically right now the jam is an America's event. It's only people in North and South America who are jamming right now. And it will come down to be only North America for 3 hours, and then around about 1 o'clock in the morning, my time, in Central European time, we will say goodbye to our last jams, which are going to be San Diego is the last one uploading today, I think. San Diego, yeah.
What have you seen so far? So in regards to the team, we haven't actually explicitly discussed the team. Maybe you can share like a few words about it, and what have you seen? How are people doing it?
This is very interesting. If you haven't seen the theme was a graphic. A lot of people think it was the word, but we really encourage you to look carefully. So it was a graphic, which was 4 letters, BLUE, spelling the word blue, written in black on a bright yellow background, with a certain font and a certain spacing and stuff like this. So you can go anywhere you like in that. You can just take the first impression of the word blue, or you can think about the why is blue written in black and why is it on yellow and stuff like this. So our themes are always designed to be like an irritant, just as huh? What I do with this moment, yeah? And it was a theme which we actually selected quite recently. It's a few days before the jam. We had another one which we decided not to do in the end. And Natasha, one of our colleagues, suggested this one. It's a really, really nice one. And because it was quite late, we hadn't really thought through what it might be. We always look at a theme and think, has it got 4 or 5 different directions it could go? We said, okay, blue. Yeah, there's a thing about nature, the ocean, the sky, stuff like this, and that tied in quite nicely with the theme of the Deep Jam. There's also the thing about blues music. There's a thing about the color blue, anything else which is the color blue. There's also the emotion of being blue, and blues music is part of that being blue. And that's probably been the dominant thing that I've noticed, is lots and lots of projects around mental health, around loneliness or togetherness, around well-being on a mental level. Of course, that's a really important issue right now, and it's fantastic to see that issue being much more talked about than it used to be. People are much more open about mental health challenges they're facing. So that wasn't actually what we planned, but that really happened.
What
and
was the plan? What was the plan?
There isn't one. There isn't one. We just have a theme out there, and sometimes we have an idea what we think it will do, and it often goes in a very different direction. And that's great, because that's what jamming is about. If you know what's going to happen at a jam, it's not a jam. It's a rehearsal. It's a practice session. It's a design workshop. Yeah. But if you start with a point and you end up somewhere very, very different than you expected, it means you're doing good work usually.
Have you had to do any special aid, help, support? Any weird questions, awkward moments?
No, there's always different challenges, different places, and there's only so much we can do, of course, from afar. So sometimes we get people who call us and say, "Oh, we're miserable. We're not happy here," or "We're stuck." That hasn't happened this year. Not had any of those calls coming to me, at least. Perhaps other colleagues have. So what our interaction is usually through two things. There's the social media stuff that we do, and really enjoy looking through the stuff, trying to like, post, share the good stuff, gather it together to share with the world. And there's the platform, and of course the platform is always the main interaction we have with the jams when they're uploading things. It's not a simple thing to organize, and sometimes there are some misunderstandings around that, or complications, or people who just leave it a little bit too late, although we say every time start early. Yeah, so there's always there's that thing between the user and the system, which is always the case. But it's been pretty smooth this time. I think individual hiccups, but generally speaking, it's gone really well.
And this is like, I remember, I think the first one we did was in 2011. That was the first edition.
The first one, yeah. 2011.
So this was year number 8.
Yeah, so it's the 9th one, I believe.
Yeah.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Yeah, it means the next year is the 10th.
Next year is the 10th. Are you, yeah, it's, are you already having some wild ideas about the 10th year? Or are you just still living in the moment and thinking about just making sure that this gets to where?
Well, there's a poster behind you, no prototype, no meeting, and every jam is a prototype for the next one. So we've been very conscious about things we've done this time, which are a bit new. Marcus can tell you more about some of those. But there were some things that we launched this jam which maybe weren't quite ready, but we launched them anyway, because that's how you find out. You know, you get them out on the street, just like our jammers were going out there with half-finished rough prototypes, testing them on the street. So we're trying to do the same thing with the jam. It's wonderful to have these thousands of people who support us doing that. And we hope it will pay into the next jam being even bigger and even better.
So you hinted upon that. Let's talk a little bit about the Deep Jam with Marcus and the other prototypes that possibly happened this year. Marcus, say hi to the internet world. Yes.
When I talk.
Yes, there you are. Yes, we hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, the Deep Jam can go in different directions. We discussed it a bit yesterday and the day before, but we also, in the team, we had many ideas how this could go. And of course, you think big and you say, okay, what can we do with the results or with the research that actually is being done there? But now we have, I think, a baseline of the stuff that actually worked, or that engaged people, that they liked, and some stuff that we just dreamt of, which might not be happening. And it's a good thing before actually putting it into work in a more thorough way. And especially for next time, it's going to be in the handbook from the start. So also it's easier for the host to prepare that stuff. Right now, we designed it to be no hassle to the hosts, which also takes away some of the options that you might have into doing stuff locally.
And
so we also did with the Deep Jam was some kind of interaction between the jams that we, I think, 8 years ago already started with.
Yeah, we did a collaboration with I think it was Melbourne.
Yes, exactly. We keep using that example as internally, also as maybe there's more formats that we can try, but then again, they need to scale, and if it happens on a local level, it's fine. And then you guys do it, and you have fun with that. And we always try to give that space to people to explore stuff that we haven't dreamt of. And but here, I think we're going into that direction of how can we make also right now the projects are great, but on a long term, there are documentation what you did that day. But it's essentially it's the conversations that you had, it's the connections that you make with people, it's the way of working, that actually sticks. And we're trying to balance out also and trying to bring in some formats that also give us back some content that might be reused or useful for learning, for people to get into, to start at a different level, to build maybe a chime that other people can stand on.
Stepping stones,
at the same time, without losing the jam spirit, and that's going to be a really interesting balance.
What have you seen? One of the prototypes was the Deep Jam this year. What have you seen so far, and what are your first impressions?
Not much. Because the Deep Jams guys actually were deep into the jam. It was really hard to get them out of this. Especially because they really have to dig. It's so basically, yes, they go for depth, and then the restrictions of the 3 days hit them maybe even harder than a normal jammer already.
Yeah. So they've been under the radar.
Yeah, I had a few conversations, and I think one of the things is it's the balance still between the depth and the playfulness. And I think that's not a contradiction, but this is something that we might have to work on from the start. So the package was quite dense, and it was a great starting point. Fantastic work by Standby, and maybe give people some hint how to play with that more, so it doesn't become a reading exercise, for example. But again, the Deep Jam has a different dynamic. The guys I talked to yesterday, they might say something different now. And so there are some really nice things. If you look on the website, there's already the projects up.
So should people look?
Basically, it's gonna be in an hour or so. It's also just on the globaljams.org site, on the Global Service Jam page. So there will be a menu item, projects, but if you want to see it now, it's at submit.globaljams.org. So there's the galleries are linked from there. So you see all I think it's 20 projects from the Deep Jam, and so far 300 or 400 projects which are already live for the Classic Jam. And we're working our way up to, I think, 600 or so.
Let's and do you have a question for Hamburg, Marcus? Is there anything you'd like to know from them? Otherwise, I'll ask them something.
Ready.
Adam.
How can you be so awesome on your first jam?
So awesome.
Awesome.
So awesome.
We were not.
Yeah,
I don't think we were. To be honest.
Yeah, I think we were quite proud of pulling it off, like in the first try actually. But like the last 2 months especially has for us been like so many mistakes, and like again kind of learning from them, pivoting again and again, and also like we said, like for this morning, we actually did the proper service design input for case studies this morning instead of Friday. So yeah, it wasn't perfect, but we're quite proud that we had approximately 21, 22 people, and they all had a good time. We had a great feedback from everybody at the end of this I Wish I Like feedback sessions. And yeah, I think we danced a lot. That's
a lot.
That might be a secret. Actually, I have one more question for you, if Mark will allow
me. Go ahead.
If you allow.
Just take over the show. Go ahead.
You started.
You said that there were people at the beginning of the jam thinking, I don't want to be here. So why did they come?
Well, somebody had recommended it to them, or there was this one person who's like, I'm in between career options right now and I don't know what to do. So I just saw this and I came, but I don't really feel comfortable being here because not about the space or the event itself, but they're like, I don't feel comfortable talking to people so much, or I don't really interact on such a personal level every day, and this is pretty new to me. So it was just something new to them, and they took the brave step of actually coming.
And it was also, and it was also great to see them come back the next day as well, because we were told that be aware, maybe like a few people check out, but we had everybody coming in both the days. Yeah.
It's one of the things.
Dropped out? There were two people dropped out. Okay. Dropped out.
One of the challenges of the Jam, I think, is that it is quite extrovert friendly, and introverted people can find it quite off-putting, and that's one of the things that we're trying to work on as well.
To be honest, while organizing the Jam itself, we had so many learnings. Like we still don't know a lot of things. Like, for example, how to advertise, how to get sponsors for the event. We were lucky that the company that we work for was super nice, and they said, hey, we want to sponsor the event for you, and they took care of a lot of things for us. But I'm hoping that based on how we've done this year, maybe next year we're able to build upon that reputation and probably get more sponsors for the event and so on.
So for the people who will be organizing the Jam next year for the first time, what would be your biggest tip for them based on your experience?
Start early.
Start on sponsor really early.
Like, especially sponsorship, it has to go like at least 6 months, 1 year before, if possible. No, definitely, yes. It's like, otherwise everybody else is sponsoring somebody else, and it's like already too late.
Maybe not 1 year, but I mean, we started 1.5 months ago, like with the whole event, and that was too late, I think. So we should have started at least October, November last year, and probably then we'd have been in a better shape.
I was in touch with them already from October, but like
but internally the planning.
And also like we already planned the catering and everything without even thinking that they could also be sponsorship, and we had paid for everything, and we thought then that they could have been sponsored, and then it was too late because we already paid for it. So
I think another interesting thing for me would be that to kind of when we plan events, I think next year it would be very cool to also have a service design approach to planning this event, and because it was quite like ping pong ideas and here and there, and we kind of did try to, well, we are worked quite cross-functional, as to say, but it wasn't quite like, we did not have a wall where we had like a lot of posters, what happens before the event, what happens during the event, what happens after, and those kind of interaction and touch points. So I think I would definitely do that next year.
Marcus, you also had a question.
Yes, we're talking a lot about the learning for the participants, for the Jammers. In terms of your own journey as a host, who would you recommend to do this, to host? So what do they get out of hosting? Because we see that it's a different learning journey, and you grow, and it gives you also a different space. What would you suggest?
I think I would recommend anyone to try it, because you learn so much about stuff that you're not, like, advertising, trying to get sponsored is something that you're not going to do in your daily job. And just trying it and like maybe failing, you learn something out of it, and you know that next time you're going to do better. And even like talking in public and trying to help people to go through a process that you know, but like it's different to explain it and try to get someone to get on board and understand and apply it. So I think anyone could learn something from that.
And it's also super interesting because you learn so many different facets of organizing an event. that you never even think about when you just like, yeah, this event, it's so boring. So this and that, can we attend the event? It's like, I wish this happened, I wish that happened, without any thought about what's happening behind, you know, who's organizing it and what is going into the organization. And now we've learned a lot of patience. Be patient with everything. And it's going to happen at some point, and learn to be able to deal with every kind of person, because you don't always expect to get the same like-minded people at one space. Like there might be a singular interest in service design as a whole, but then the people who come here are all from varied backgrounds, and they bring their own thought process into the space, and they have their own requirements and their own expectations. So to meet all those expectations, it's really it's a difficult task, and also at the same time, it makes us really happy when we're able to give them something to take home.
I would also say, like, engineers and developers, like when I asked around, like, so we all have some kind of a design background, so like product design or UX design. So it would be kind of interesting to have some kind of a, sorry, Marcus, you.
I get signals from my baby who needs to go to sleep, but she woke up again, so I need to quickly drop out. I'm sorry.
Thanks, Marcus. Family first.
Yeah. So just kind of having developers and kind of engineers to also kind of onboard on the process, because like you mentioned, that we also exchange our tools and methods that we use for research or whatnot. And I think it would be cool to have, like, not just as participants for engineers and developers, but also as a part of like the team and our hosting team as well. Yeah, so they could also teach us something on, I don't know, how do they approach certain problems, and we could also teach them how we approach certain problems.
What is well, we're going to sort of wrap up this Power Up, and the final thing I'm really curious about is, like, do you have anything planned after the jam, or is this the end of the experience? Are you going to do something tomorrow or the next week or the next month?
That's still something we're asking ourselves.
Yeah. Well, we have a karaoke party right now.
Next step.
Yeah, nothing planned. Probably, I think we do some kind of like a host, like wrap-up drinks.
But we probably also get in touch with the participants a little bit more, ask them for their feedback to begin with, and we've already connected with many of them through LinkedIn and other social media platforms. We do hope to keep in touch with them, but no concrete plans as of yet. But that's a good point. Maybe we should plan something.
What would you suggest? What should we do now?
Adam, enlighten us. What is...
There's a smart man, Mark, I think he works in your office, who says the implementation of service design is a service design process. So yeah, what are the needs of your jammers? What are the needs of the community around you? What I've seen happening has been some really cool things, just getting together, you know, just having an excuse every couple of months to come together, maybe to go back and look at your projects once more, to rate each other's, to look at your twins projects. Can be really fun as well. Give them some feedback. They'll be so happy to see feedback popping up on their site. Maybe you start to look for local issues you can address. Maybe it's a question of looking for actual problems in Hamburg or whatever that you want to look at, or saying how can we impart these skills more generally in our community if we think they're useful. That gives you a chance to do other things where you can meet people who you can connect with professionally or as future jam co-organizers, maybe the engineers you talked about, Hanuman, people like this, you know. So there's all kinds of stuff you can do, but the question is, you know, what are your needs and what are the needs of your community around you and the people who came to your jam? That's very hard to answer.
To be honest, while we were organizing the jam itself, we felt like there was a dearth of service design community within Hamburg itself, because the event service jam has not been happening in Hamburg for the last couple of years. And we were looking to get in touch with the service design community here, but we couldn't really get in touch with them. It would be really nice to start it up, you know.
You are. you are, as we speak, the service design community in Hamburg. You need to take responsibility.
This is very true. The jam is a great connector. It will get attention. It's worthwhile spending a little bit of time if you have it. If you have got the energy to do a little bit of media work after the jam and share some of the things that happened, that's very, very valuable. Share it with other communities who might be interested next time. The hacks you talk about, the social camps, the local government, people like this. There's a lot of interest in this stuff right now. Just having a colorful story with great pictures from your own city, boom. As soon as you have photographs of people on the streets of Hamburg doing stuff, it's relevant for your local media. So, think about that as well.
Use the momentum. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Any final words of wisdom from you in Hamburg?
Wisdom.
Wow.
Come be here. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Dance a lot.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Hamburg. You're magnificent. Really cool.
Thank you.
Thanks for hanging out. And Adam.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you to Adam as well for all the main organization. Because
organization has been brilliant.
I'm a very small part of the team. I'm a very small part of the team. Yeah.
You want to excuse that people are doing this. Adam, final words for you.
Congratulations, everyone who's congratulations, everyone who's taken part. We've really seen over those 9 jams of this type and the other jams, the SUS jams and the jams, we've seen a real evolution in the quality of people's work. That's not been from the jam only. It's because this thing we're doing is becoming more and more well-known. Work like yours, Mark, with the podcast and so on. People are learning about this stuff. We've seen how in the early days we had to really struggle to get people to stop talking and start doing. Just that was a huge struggle. We had jams in year 1 that were literally 30 people sitting in a circle for 3 days and talking, and we got people to start getting up and doing things. Then it became the effort to make them generate real prototypes, not just visualizations made with plasticine, but actually prototypes and so on. That's been really successful. We've done very well with that. After that, the last few years have been pushing people to get out more, not to start with an idea, but to start with a problem, get on the street. And this year, I've really enjoyed seeing people going out of the jam several times, just like our friends in Hamburg described. We're going out not just to research, but going out with your prototype and going out again with your prototype and getting much more an iterative way of working. So congratulations to everyone, to the thousands of people who've been involved in the jam so far and made that happen.
I see hands going up. Yeah, definitely. For the people who watched the PowerUp over the last 3 days, cool for sticking around with us, listening to this. If you're watching the recording, that's cool to leave a comment and make sure that next year you join and host a jam yourself. Spread the message. Let's make it even bigger. And make sure you have a rubber chicken in your office. Thanks, Patricia, for watching. It was really cool. And my goal is to do this next year as well with the Service Design Show and make it even bigger and maybe get some more coverage of the jam, because this really gives a peek into the global service design community. We've had people from Brazil, from Hamburg, from Lima. I don't remember where everybody was from, but it really gives a peek into what the vibe and what the jam is all about. So we'll be back next year for sure, Adam.
Hopefully us as well.
Thank you.
Yeah,
We will.
We're
Thank
counting
you
on
for all
you.
your support, Mark. Thank you for your support. It's very
We're
valuable.
counting on you. All right. Have a great evening, Adam.
Bye-bye.
Have fun for the last few hours, and
We will. We will.
see you soon, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.